Welcome to my website. My name is Gerard Fife. I'm a 73-year-old French Canadian. I come to you today as a father in a desperate attempt to salvage what's left of my two boys' life. I have tried in the past to expose to the media and to the public the criminal conduct of some of the people responsible for the protection of our children, but I failed. I've tried everything I could. All I have left is the internet, and I don't know anything about the internet. I sure hope that maybe somebody will see this story and will help me figure a way to get it out. It could save some innocent victims, and it sure would help my two boys. The story I'm about to tell you is hard to believe, but it is all recorded and documented at the St. Johns County Courthouse in St. Augustine, Florida. In 1986, my two boys and their mother vanished from my life, disappeared while I was living on my boat in St. Augustine, Florida. 3 years later, in 1989, I get a phone call from North Carolina. It was Lyra Hunick, my boy's aunt, telling me that if I wanted to see my boys, to go to 32 Monty Jones Road, Weaverville, North Carolina, that my boys and their mother were living with a boyfriend named David Rice, an animal whom she had just reported to the authorities for sexually abusing my two boys. I immediately drove to North Carolina, and when I arrived at the boys' house, I asked the mother for permission to take him out for the day, and she granted it. I took my boys roller skating, then we went out to eat. And while we were eating at the restaurant, I asked my 9-year-old boy, Tristan, "Why is your face all puffed up like that?" He looked at his brother. They looked down. They didn't want to talk. They were scared. Anyway, they opened up and they finally told me that the boyfriend, David Rice, had punched Tristan, knocked him down, and kicked him in the face with his cowboy boots. That's why the inside of his mouth was still bleeding. Then they went on to describe the violence and the abuse they had to witness at their home, and described the latest incident where David Rice had punched her mother to the floor, hit her in the stomach with his boots, put a gun to her head while she was on the floor. This while she was recuperating from a cervical cancer operation. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I drove the boys home and I immediately called the North Carolina Social Services. And I reported David Rice on 2 counts of abuse, and one on the children and one on their mother. The next day I drove to their house, and when I arrived, the mother came out screaming, "Get the hell out of here. You better get out of North Carolina or else." This while the boyfriend was holding a gun to my face in front of my two boys sitting on the porch scared to death. I left. I had to leave. The mother was the only person in the world that knew that I was an illegal alien working in the US of A with a criminal record under the alias of Bob Sonderman for the past 18 years. I hated to leave the boys like that, but I felt secure because I knew that the authorities would arrest David Rice and do what they had to do with him. So, for my own safety, I moved to South Carolina. A year later, at the end of September 1990, I got another phone call from Lyra Hunick. This time it was good news. She was telling me that the boys and the mother had left North Carolina and were back in Florida, at St. Augustine, Florida. Gave me the address and the phone number. I immediately called the mother and I told her how happy I was to hear that she was back in Florida. Could she do me the favor of taking my two boys to McDonald's on the 20th of October that I would organize a party so we could all celebrate my birthday. She agreed. A few days later, on the 10th of October, I received a letter from Florida from the boy's mother. Two letters, one from Tristan and one from Chris. Hi, Dad. I hope you feel good. I finally got my bird. I want a gun for Christmas. I'm doing real good. I love you. Tristan. And Chris, hi Dad, I miss you. I love Dad. When are you coming down? I miss you, Dad. I love my dad. Ten days later, on the 20th of October, I drove to St. Augustine, all excited. I couldn't wait to see my boys. I walked in, nobody was there, so I bought a coffee and I sat down to wait for them. Before I could even taste my coffee, the St. Johns County SWAT team moved in. They surrounded my table. They handcuffed me and they told me that they had a warrant for my arrest on 2 counts of sexual abuse of my boys in St. Augustine, Florida, between 1985 and 1986. 1985-86, Christopher, who was born February 2nd, 1983, would have been 1 year and a few months old. Unbeknown to me at the time, the 3 ladies from North Carolina, the 2 caseworkers, and a supervisor, whom I thought were there to protect children, filed their last report, a 34-page report, which is recorded at the St. Johns County Courthouse, in which I have on my website. In their report, they stated that they notified David Rice on page 29 that his conduct with women and children was inappropriate, that he would need to do something in order to help him control his temper. Temper. We're talking about beating children, beating women, violence with a weapon, sexual allegation. This man was going to walk again. This was the 3rd allegation of sexual abuse against him. And this man has never been arrested. On the same page, page 29, they all stated that my son, my 9-year-old son, Tristan, needed to be placed in a mental institution as an inpatient, long-term evaluation. On page 34, on page 32 of the report, the final page, they stated that there needs to be an arrest warrant issued for the father of the boys, Gerard Fife, for abusing his boys in St. Augustine, Florida in 1985-86. The animal walks in a father against whom nobody has ever made any allegation of any kind. I have never hit a child. I have never hit a woman. I have never pointed a gun at somebody. I've never had any allegations of sexual abuse against me. I'm going to jail, and the animal walks for the 3rd time. So now they're taking me to jail. No bail, because I'm an illegal alien. So I have to stay in jail. All I have left now is to prepare for trial. So I filed a motion on the 22nd of January. I filed a motion to represent myself. And I requested from the court that they appoint an attorney that they would deem appropriate, any attorney to help me. That was a transcript. It's recorded as page 45 at the courthouse.